Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to class. This is Yin Yoga, so the pace is very slow, pretty deep, relaxing stretches. If you have something you can use as a prop, that's ideal. Maybe it's a bolster or a pillow or a cushion or a blanket or a towel. Lots of options. Get creative. Get yourself comfortable. Maybe set up some relaxing music, light a candle, get naked. Just kidding. I mean, you could if you wanted to. But yeah, we'll get started in just a minute, so get comfortable. So we'll get started today on our backs in bound angle pose. Come all the way down onto the earth. Bring your feet together to touch your knees open wide. If you have something to support each thigh here, great. Maybe it's a couple pillows. If you don't and it feels okay on your back, your hips, then stay. If it's too much, extend your legs out long. Find a comfortable placement for your arms, wide at your sides, one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly, maybe up overhead. Close your eyes. Take a breath in, hold at the top. Big exhale. Inhale, fill up. Hold at the top. Exhale, let it go. Two more. Inhale. Big sigh, exhale. One more big breath in. Big breath out. And then allow your natural breath to flow. What does it feel like to be fully supported by the earth? Completely grounded as the weight of your body sinks heavy onto your mat. Just notice any thoughts, any sensations that arise. At any point you want more time in a pose, stay as long as you'd like. From here, draw your hands to your thighs, press your legs together. Give yourself a squeeze. Sway a little side to side. Let your left leg fall heavy, or option to plant your left foot on the ground. Lift your right leg to the ceiling. Grab behind your right thigh for your calf, your ankle. Feel a stretch through your right hamstring, and then if you'd like, ankle rolls through your right foot, or flex your toes, point your toes. Release your grip. Bring your right ankle to your left thigh. Exhale, supine twist to the left. Drop your hips over to the left. So with your legs in this figure four position, you're going to get a stretch through your outer hip. But if that doesn't feel good, especially in your low back, bend both knees, stack your knees, or take any version of this twist you'd like. And then allow yourself to get comfortable. Option to send your right arm out, gaze to your right hand. You can always support your bent knee here with a pillow, bolster. So notice any distractions that come out or any urges to move. When you're tempted, focus more on your breath. Maybe you sigh out your air, even make some noise. Or you can count along with your breath, up on the inhale, down on the exhale. Just about a minute here if you want to change position or variation. Take a full round of breath. And inhale, find the center, hug both knees in. Give yourself a squeeze. Let your right leg fall heavy, or option to plant your right foot down, whatever feels better in your spine. Lift your left leg to the sky, grab for your calf, your ankle. Slide your left foot towards the wall behind you and then circle out through your ankle joint. Flex your toes, point your toes. And plant both feet on the earth. Bring your left ankle to your right thigh. Exhale, supine twist to the right. Drop your hips over to the right. Probably need to slide your bottom hip to the middle of your space so your hips stack one on top of the other. If there's a different version of this twist you would like, go for it here. Halfway through this side. Take a full round of breath. And roll back to center. Give yourself a squeeze, grab for your shins, sway a little side to side. If a happy baby would feel good, grab for the outside edges of your feet. And grab behind your thighs, start to rock and roll up to a seat and then into tabletop. Find all fours. Inhale, cow pose, drop your belly. Exhale, cat, round and curl. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Keep moving through your cow, cat. From your neutral tabletop, tuck your toes, downward facing dog, send your hips high. And keep your feet where they're at, ragdoll or dangling. Crawl your hands towards your toes, bend your knees a lot. Ground for opposite elbow creases. Shake your head yes, shake your head no. Release your grip. Crawl back to downward facing dog. Child's pose. Send your knees wide. Bring your big toes to touch. Sit back onto your heels. Fold forward, bringing your chest to the earth or maybe to your bolster, your pillow. Gaze one way to start. If you're using a prop, halfway through you'll switch. Option to bring your arms back behind you, palms face up, or heavy at your sides. You're halfway through, option to switch out your gaze or slide away your props, coming a little deeper into your child's pose. If you feel like you could use a little more, send your knees a little farther apart. Take a full round of breath. And gently push up into tabletop. Walk one knee in, the other knee in. Send your right leg back, straighten out your leg. Maybe you open your hip to the right. And other side, send your left leg back, bend your knee, open your hip to the left. Option to flow through a few cow cats, or even tuck your toes, a downward facing dog. Half pigeon on the right side. Bring your right knee to your right wrist. Send your shin across your mat. Lengthen your left leg long behind you. Option to stay upright or fold over your props or fold onto the earth. If you've got a wall nearby, you can always take half pigeon on the wall. You can always flip onto your back. If you're feeling pain in your front knee, you'll want to flip onto your back for this one. You can gaze one way, just take note of which direction you're looking. You'll switch it out on the other side. Halfway through this side, if you want to come in a little deeper, Finish the round of breath that you're on. And take your time, push back into tabletop or downward facing dog. Find a counter stretch. Open your hip to the right. Take circles through your hip joint both directions. You can find a modified side plank here. Push your hips forward or even flip your dog. And then we'll come into the other side. Bring your left knee to your left wrist. Send your shin across your mat. Lengthen your right leg long. Stay upright. Or maybe you choose to fold forward. Switch out your gaze. Even if this bothers your knee, come onto your back or use the wall. Halfway through this side. Notice where you can release tension through your shoulders, your neck, even your low belly. Take a full round of breath here. And then take your time exiting the pose, pushing your hands tabletop or down dog. Bend your left knee, open your hip, option to flip your dog or take that supported side plank to open up through your hip. Then we meet in tabletop. Do a round of cow cat if that feels good on your back. Then come to a seated position. We'll take a wide-legged fold here. You can always sit on something to elevate your hips. So if you're tighter through your back, your hamstrings, or your adductors, your inner thighs, sit on a block or a bolster or a pillow. You can also move up towards a wall, especially if you have low back sensitivities or you're tighter through your hamstrings. You would come to a wall, send your feet out wide, take your stretch from there. If you're coming into the seated stretch, find grounding through both sits bones. You may need to rock a little side to side here, lift one thigh, the other thigh. Send your feet out wide as they'll go. And crawl your hands forward. Keep your spine as flat as you can for as long as you can. Then when you can no longer fold or crawl forward, that's when you round, dropping your head. Ideally, you have some support here for your upper body, maybe using a block or a few pillows stacked one on top of the other. And if that's not possible, don't be afraid to move up towards a wall with your legs extended up and your feet out wide. If at any point you think you could use more, drop your chest closer to the earth or crawl your feet even wider apart. Let's go for one more minute here. Twenty seconds. Full round of breath. Crawl yourself up to a seat. If you're on the wall, come to a seated position. If you're on a block or a prop, sit off of it. And then plant your hands behind your back, your feet at hip bones distance apart. Drop your knees right and left a couple of times. And we'll come into an active hamstring stretch. If you prefer more of a passive stretch, no worries. You'll just bend your knee and use gravity to fold forward rather than your upper arm strength. Send your right leg out to the right. Your left foot comes to your inner thigh. Even out your way through your hips. If this is too much or you notice yourself leaning backward, elevate your hips by sitting on something. If this bothers your bent knee, so in this case your left knee, slide a prop underneath your left thigh. Now turn your shoulders to frame your right leg. Taking the active stretch, you'll fold forward, grab onto your toes, your ankles, your calves. If you have a towel or a strap, you can loop that around your foot as well. And if that's too much, bend your right knee, or if you want to focus on the spine strength or want something or spine stretch or something more relaxing, fold forward. Just allow gravity to work you into this opening. And if you're in the active stretch and using your upper arms, can you release your head, neck, and shoulders? Allow your biceps to do the work here. You've got one more minute. On your next inhale, push into your hands, crawl yourself up. Bend both knees, plant your feet, find those windshield wipers side to side again. And then you'll take that on the other side. Send your left leg out, your right foot comes to your inner thigh, option to support your bent knee. Turn your shoulders, frame your extended leg, and then exhale, you fold. Option to make this active, grab on, use your biceps to pull your chest towards your thigh, or passive, bend your knee, release your grip, let gravity fold you forward. One more minute here. Take a breath in, big breath out, and then push yourself up. Slowly unwinding, plant your feet, drop your knees right to left. And roll back into a tabletop position. We'll set up for frog pose. So frog pose works your inner hips. If it's way too much on your inner hips, take another set of child's pose or option for lizard lunge on each side. If you're coming into frog pose, bring your knees wide, just as you would if you were setting up for child's pose. But instead of your big toes touching behind you, send your shins out from your knees, and then the inner arches of your feet touch the earth. So your big toes touch your mat. From here, maybe you slide your knees even farther apart. Shift your hips back towards your heels. And then from there, you lower down, dropping to the earth. If you've got a pillow or a bolster, now's the time to grab for it. You can support your upper body with your prop. And if this is way too much, you'll take child's pose with your toes together. Or lizard lunge, one foot steps forward, both hands are inside that foot. I'll tell you when we're halfway through, that's when you'll switch out your lizard lunge. Notice if you start to hold your breath or tense up through your upper body. You're halfway through, so if you're in lizard lunge, switch out your legs. If you're looking one way, turn your head the opposite direction. One more minute. 30 seconds, stay with it, find your breath, open your mouth on the exhales if you need to release some tension. Two full breaths. And then slowly push into your hands. Draw your big toes together. Walk one knee in, walk the other knee in. Send one leg back, straighten it out. The other leg back, straighten it out. Maybe a cow cat or a downward facing dog. And come down to a seat. We'll take supported bridge. So you'll need a block or a pillow underneath your low spine. If you don't have either of those things, you can focus on legs up the wall. So you'll move to a wall, send your legs straight up. Your entire spine is grounded on your mat. Or if there's a different stretch you'd like, maybe happy baby pose or another set of bound angle, how we started class, you can come into that as well. If you're taking supported bridge, plant your feet, toes rotate forward. Lift your hips, slide your block or your prop underneath your low back, so your sacrum, just above your tailbone. It's the flat part of your low spine. Rest the entire weight of your hips onto your block. It should feel pretty good, so if it doesn't, slide your block or your prop closer to your heels. Your arms can be wide at your sides or up overhead. Option to keep your feet planted or straighten one leg forward. See how that feels. Hold for a few breaths or straighten both legs forward at the same time. Option to stay as you are. Come into waterfall, lift both legs to the sky. Keep a slight bend in your knees. Your legs should stay lifted without much effort. If you try it and it doesn't feel good, plant your feet back onto your mat. If your feet are lifted, plant your feet back to the earth. Take a round of breath wherever you are. And lift your hips, slide your block out from underneath you, lower down one bone at a time. Knock your feet together for fallen bridge, or your knees together, your feet wide. Drop your knees right to left, right to left. Reset your spine. If there's any final movement you need, take that now. Otherwise, give yourself a squeeze. Pull your forehead to your knee. Exhale, release. Final resting pose. Get comfortable. Maybe wrap up in a blanket or cover your eyes to block out the light. And you give yourself 2 full minutes of stillness, allowing your mind to wander if it does. And take a big breath in through your nose. Hold at the top for 20. Three, two, one. Find your normal belly breath. Stay resting for as long as you're able. Thank you so much for practicing. Until next time, namaste.